So you can be on the driver's seat and asking, tell me, I was wondered about this, but you're not going to have the right questions to ask if you yourself are not empowered and you don't know where to begin.
Yes.
So the same way you've gone and worked in your trade to learn more about, I was listening to Lucy and she went and she's researched and she's gotten to know about, scientifically about the concept of purple tea and whatnot. Is the same zeal we need to apply with, onto how to
raise our children.
Raise our children.
Everything cannot be on babycenter.com. Hey, welcome back to my channel. I am on a journey to bring to you amazing women. And I just realized, because I already know what my first 20 look like, they're going to change the world and your world. Lorna is going to change your world and where it matters, family. So Lorna is a speech therapist, specialty children, but she will see anybody else. When did you realize there was a need?
A need for speech therapy?
And especially pediatrics.
Pediatrics. Well, I guess it all just began, I know we did talk about this before, but I didn't tell you, but it started off with a family member for myself. So I have a sister who was diagnosed with a hearing impairment, and I grew up in Mombasa, and there weren't any speech therapists.
What is that?
Yeah, so that was the first time I actually encountered such a profession. Like, there's speech therapy, you mean that's a profession? And I remember that sparked the curiosity, and then I went off to New Zealand and Australia and I did my course and I graduated, and I really did have a passion for children and for service to humanity, I guess. And I decided then to make that journey back home 10 years ago and set up practice, try to put speech therapy on the map because it wasn't there. No, so we were seeing very few children. And I just noticed, like, in the last 5 years, the clinic at the moment sees upwards of 700 children every month. 700 children every month, and I'm thinking, why? There seems to be an epidemic.
So you weren't actually, oh, my numbers are good. You were like, no, there's a problem.
No.
Wow.
So, I mean, yes, the numbers are good, but I can never really finish. There's just the need for speech therapy in this country, seeing that it's an underserved country, there's less than 10 speech therapists. I will never really fully tap into it. So I just thought I owe it to, this is one of the gifts I have, and I strongly believe that we need to share what we know, our own genius with others. And by so doing, teach everything you know. That's a slogan by one teaching platform. And
each one teach one.
Yes. And there seems to be this notion in Kenya that if you share what you know, then somehow it makes you less, or it
or
will
if you share your spotlight. In my case, somehow it will dilute mine. I'll be famous light.
It doesn't. It doesn't, Caroline. And what you're doing, you have no idea, is that light that you're shining to the world. It's giving people permission as well to also believe in themselves and do more.
It's why I do it. Nobody has convinced me about why I do what I do, but I find it fascinating that I'll still meet somebody who's like, so you're going to go and spotlight these women whose careers and businesses are about to explode. I'm like, yes, yes, but it's okay. I'm like, I'm contagiously blessed. I just choose who to bless. Yes.
And you're great when you're very happy in your own skin and you're confident.
I'm verified in my own skin.
So I just thought to myself, I know I can. And a lot of the things that I was talking about that I was seeing, I was encountering in the clinic, I felt if this parent knew this and this, this child would not need to be here. Then there'll be room for the others that really need to be there. So that's the way I was looking at it.
So usually, first time you see a child, how old are they? By the time a parent says, this is not on. How old are they? Are they 5, 4?
I am so happy that now I'm seeing 2-year-olds.
Oh, great.
But they are definitely the 5-year-olds that I just feel like, wow, I wish I could give you the assurity, because you as a parent, if you have a child that has a delayed language or communication difficulty, you really want somebody to say to you, it's going to be fine.
Yes.
And I feel like I can say that to parents who have 2-year-olds and 18-month-olds. Like, it's going to be fine, because now we're going to start the child on to something that is ideal, a much more ideal environment. They start coming for speech therapy. But if a child is 5, I'm like, okay, so now we're just wanting to see how much we can, you know, what are we going to do? How far can we get them? But really, I cannot promise that it's going to be all fine unless the difficulty has nothing to do with language. Perhaps it's articulate pronunciation or stammering. And even then, you really need to have intervention come very close to when you saw the problem. And we really focus on early intervention, being the first 3 years of life. I mean, I'd rather see a child who is 2 than 2 and 10 months, because they still have that 1 year, that window of opportunity before everything starts to sort of slow down up until 5 years. I mean, there's still brain development, but it's usually much slower than the first 3 years of life. So I just thought I love people. I love talking to people. I love, you know, really service, as I said. And I also was very, it's very dear to me. I did see your interview with Lucy, that she's wanting to put Kenya on the map.
Yes.
And I feel the same way. Like, I got goosebumps just watching that, because that is the mission that I'm on at the moment as well. It's like, we need to have homegrown solutions to some of these problems. We can be the ones that are trailblazing. It doesn't have to be solutions to problems that are just, you know, the screen and overexposure to screens is a problem that is universal. It is universal.
It is universal.
It is.
But, I mean, the one thing I do know is that when you meet Korean parents, Japanese, a few European parents as well, you Americans are a whole other breed. They are very clear. There is no need for early exposure to screens. And even if they have some exposure, not overexposure. Not overexposure. So what does therapy look like? I'm sure there's somebody sitting there saying, we need to go and see this Lorna woman. In fact, she has probably told her husband, Caroline has got somebody we are looking for. What does therapy look like? So I come to you, child is 3.5, and we are clear that we did not hit a certain milestone. In fact, the minute they heard 300 words, they said, Kwenda, impossible. We do not have that many. What does therapy look like?
So it's actually much simpler. So I'm not wearing a lab coat. I'm playing with a child, and the parent is looking on and saying, you're doing what are you looks doing? Very normal what you're doing, but the child is responding. So we have, I mean, because I did speech therapy in college, I know and I'm aware about, you know, child development milestones and whatnot. So I know what we need to focus on before the other. So you find children who are delayed are probably not saying mama, baba, but they're probably counting to 20. Some of them are counting to 100. They can recite the alphabet, but they're not saying mama.
They're parroting though.
Yeah. Well, they have, because most of the content, the educational content that's online is ABCD and it's all that. So they find and it's quite literal things. So they're able to regurgitate that very quickly, memorize it very quickly. But they're not, you can't engage them in conversation. So I say to a parent, well, this child here, I see the rigidity. I'm able to spot what it is that needs to be worked on first. So I have a good idea of what is a prerequisite to the other. So it's like when you're running, you can't run before you walk.
No, you can't.
So if you say, I want my child to run and they're not walking, I'll start with the walking.
But however, I've always said Nduku has never walked. The girl runs everywhere. Runs. I'm still waiting for her to walk.
You probably really worked on the foundational skills really well, so they just took off.
From the day that girl realized she could sprint, she runs everywhere. I'm like, walk! And people, my friends are still laughing at me. Yes.
So it's very simple, and I thought, if I taught parents what they can do at home, and even if they did need to seek out speech therapy services, at least they have an idea of how they can spend the little time. And, you know, parents' time is very limited, you know. They can spend, they spend the 20 minutes that they have with their child to make it more effective. Yes. Because if you're just there saying, what is this? What is this? That does not grow language. What if I just instruct you on what kind of questions, what kind of books, how to read, you know, just so that that time makes the most sense for your child and their language development. And that's why I created the course, you know, so we have a course for parents. There's a free version and there's a paid version.
She has an amazing, and that's, how did you get into my radar? That's what I don't understand. And I remember I literally subscribed, and then I received my first video. And I think I got your first video. I was like, I need this woman on my platform.
What you're about to hear may surprise you, maybe even shock you, but 7 out of 10 children with delayed language that I attend to at my speech therapy clinic, their delayed language skills could totally have been avoided. Stay with me for less than 10 minutes and I will share with you how you can get your child to start talking with tips used by speech therapists which work each time.
I mean, everybody needs to be able to subscribe to her service, because what I love about the way you've got how many videos do you have in the first part? 3?
Yeah, they're about 3.
They're about 3.
Yes.
Is that I think every woman who is currently carrying or has a 1-year-old, a 5-month-old needs to watch it, because I think there's something to be said for having the power and the knowledge before this person needs to go and look for Lorna.
Yeah.
I think if you can, please, even before you start calling her and saying, can we come and see you? Can you just find her 3 videos, that first one, and watch them? Because there's power in that information that is, and I've refused to talk about it because I think you should watch it yourself. So what's next? How do you work with early learning institutions as well? How do you support schools? Because here's the thing, anybody who knows me knows I tag team with a school. There with my child 8 hours a day. I have to support what it is they do. But I also find that sometimes teachers are talking to themselves or to a wall. How can you, or how can I help you be able to find the space in early learning to get, schools to be able to just say, okay, since you won't listen to us, Lorna is here. She'll tell you again about what we've been saying about TV time. Is that something you're open to?
Absolutely, and you're already doing that, Caroline. So just by being on this platform, I know there's going to be a lot more people who will say, oh, I think there's initial skepticism when you see somebody online, because even with the free videos, I find people still want to call and find out where's the clinic.
Yes.
And I'm thinking, access the free videos. There's
a lot there.
Empower yourself, and also don't give that power to somebody else. Like when you go to see a doctor and you're like, tell me, is it going to be fine? Also, you can be on the driver's seat and asking, tell me, I was wondering about this, but you're not going to have the right questions to ask if you yourself are not empowered and you don't know where to begin.
Yes.
So the same way you've gone and worked in your trade to learn more about, I was listening to Lucy and she went and she's researched and she's gotten to know about, scientifically about the concept of purple tea and whatnot, is the same zeal we need to apply with, onto how to
raise our children.
Raise our children.
Everything cannot be on babycenter.com.
Yeah. So this is a course that a parent can access and then get, it's this simple. It's my 2-year-old had 1,000 words at age 2. He's no genius. Well, I like to think he's a genius, but he's not a genius.
Yes.
It's just that I feel I know how to grow language. That's something I'm really good at. I can grow any child's language.
Is your second born?
Is my third born. Yes.
That means there's a lot of noise in the house. So of course,
language,
he's catching up.
A lot of language. And no screen time. The screen time just happened over the weekends. It's not even an option.
Else I think you need to tell people. So you're the no screen time mom, but you're also the homeschool mom.
I am.
Hiya. Kwa nini?
Just, I felt I needed to have more control over the learning and the evolution of learning and what aspects need to be, incorporated into my children's learning that are the things that I feel, I don't know for sure because this world is changing so quickly, but I needed an education that's actually evolving. I feel like ours isn't evolving. It's based off of very, old scripts, and it needs to grow so that we release into the world human beings that have a value, values, like they have values and discipline, and not just the academics.
No.
That's not as important as, knowing that,
I will tell you that for free.
Yeah, having a growth mindset. And I felt schools really fell short on instilling those values as well, and also focusing on other things like critical thinking and just,
that is my one gripe
well.
with the public school system, that kids can't ask why. Kids can ask why. The night I had to tell my daughter that Bob Collum had passed away and we talked about the cancer, she was okay with certain things. And then she said, how did the cancer get to him? My dear, we and YouTube had to discuss cancer.
Yeah.
But I know that one of the major reasons I braced for this conversation, because it took me the day, I knew I was going to have a conversation with her at the end of the day, is that I knew she was going to ask me a lot of why, how, what, and I cannot brush it away.
You can't.
Yeah.
you need to have a valid reason for why you say something. You can't just say something because you feel like saying it. So you need to back it up with evidence. The only language that Socrates understood is like evidence. Give me the evidence. Show me the evidence. So even as your daughter asked you about the cancer, you could throw it back to them. What do you think cancer is?
Yes.
And then they give you back. You want to see what, how the cogs are moving. And then you feed it again, you feed some more, just so that they can create their own meaning out of things and have the confidence later to explain it to somebody else. Yeah. So they're not just regurgitating what mommy said, because we've been regurgitating what our parents said to us for a very long time without really forming our own meaning for things. So it's just that kind of adaptability of a learning system is what got me, like crazy enough.
So all three are homeschooled?
And plus my friends' children. So it's a little community and we all came together. We are like 6 or 7 families.
Okay.
And we have our kids together. And we expose them to the things that we feel are of value to them. And they also, are also involved quite heavily in sport and other extracurricular things. It could be piano, it could be,
whatever
swimming.
it is, yes.
Yeah, so they do all things. They're just a bunch of well-adjusted. And I mean, my kids did go to mainstream school for a while, and I just found there's a lot of themes that I was unhappy with, and I just felt like this way we
Somebody told me the other day they found out in public school they're still being told that wind is not an energy, and I'm like, stop it.
Really?
Stop it. Stop it. I didn't want to get into that conversation. So what I am excited about is that for a country and a continent that is more and more leapfrogging because of technology, we have to figure out where it really truly fits into our children's lives. But and for a lot of them, the first thing they saw literally as they came out of the womb was a tablet or a screen of some sort, because a picture was taken. But it cannot be the pacifier and the babysitter.
We have to cultivate mindfulness with how we use these technological advances. I mean, it should be to our advantage. Like, again, I referenced Lucy because I just saw her video, and she talked about going and figuring out this new way or this new line for herself on YouTube. And you know, there's this statistic that really stuck with me, is that 14 hours, a lot of us, the average, this was in America, but I think really following, Kenya is following there as well, 14 hours a week spent on social media. That's not TV, that's not the Netflix and DSTV. So 14 hours, that's 2 hours a day. Yet, if you contrast it with the fact that if you spent just 1 single hour a day bettering your skill, whether it's learning about purple tea, or whether it's learning about how to develop your child's language, you can be an expert in as little as 7 years.
I know that.
So we can do a lot more. And I mean, me putting this quantum, like, do I want to be part of the problem or part of the solution?
You want to be part of the solution.
I've just been driven with, like, I can't complain about Kenya all the time because we love to do that, We can say, okay, fine.
Not welcome here.
Let's just do something that creates the Kenya that we want, the world that we want. And in so doing, we're also teaching our kids. We're also teaching other people as well. I mean, it's not the best world. There are people who are going to troll you.
I get it.
But then you can't just settle after just one disappointment. And I did have my share of disappointments when I was setting up shop. But it has to be a decision ultimately. Like, do you want to settle after one disappointment, one setback, or do you want to just push through? Because once you push through, you realize that, you get better, and that you can't just take it too personally, and that humans are just humans, but you can have a greater purpose that is what you're working towards. And for me, it was empowering parents. It was just adding my little voice to whatever else was there, so that I'm not just there as part of the problem. I can say, in this little way, I am part of the solution. And hopefully, if everybody did that as well, in their zone of genius, it doesn't have to be speech therapy, it doesn't have to be homeschool, it doesn't have to be... Can you imagine what kind of a world this would be?
But I'm creating it. One woman at a time. And you're woman number 2.
Thank you.
Woman number 3 is on the way, and she's another one. By the way, I'm loving this because I have very little to do. I have to just sit here and make all of you shine. And by the time I'm done, Kenya's going to be a better place. And so will the continent.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you for making the time. Can we just ask you a question? That's all your hair.
Yes.
We hate you.
It's my natural
hair, I can tell.
But,
I can tell.
But,
it's stunning. And you are amazing.
Thank you.
You're an amazing woman. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for not thinking she's crazy. She's been stalking me since December. She's back.
I enjoyed being here immensely.
Thank you. Thank you, Lorna. And good luck.
Cheers.
Because the phone will be ringing. All right. Super.